Okay, today I want to talk about substance. Okay, this term was introduced by Aristotle to describe what really exists. If you asked Aristotle what has real being, or what does it mean for something to be, Aristotle would say the most fundamental way in which something can be is to be a substance. A substance, like a dog, for example, a dog is a substance. Everything that exists for Aristotle is a substance. This pen is a substance. A dog is a substance. A specific dog is a substance. A specific cat. A specific book. A substance is anything. A piece of dust is a substance. A substance would be like the subject of a sentence. The pen is, for example, the pen is a subject. The pen is, I could then describe it. The pen is black. The pen is white. The pen has a certain shape. The pen has a certain weight. All these descriptions of a substance are called properties of the substance. So substances have properties. These are ways to describe it. The dog can be a poodle, it can be small, it can weigh so many pounds, it can be black, it can be white, and so on. An apple is red, an apple could be sweet, could be bitter, a certain shape. So for Aristotle, a substance, for something to be, it needs to be a substance. Individual people are substances. Individual cats are substances. Anything that is a substance. A piece of dust, you could then describe it. A book, a table, okay? So for Aristotle, the primary fundamental way of being is to be a substance. A lesser way of being, a lesser mode of existence would be to be a property of a substance. The apple, for example, can be red. The red depends upon the apple. The apple does not depend upon the color. The color depends upon the apple. The taste depends upon the apple. So the substance is what exists independently of the properties. The properties the apple, you have, take a pen. This pen here exists. It's a pen. Now I can color it different colors, right? I could color it red and blue and so on. The color depends upon the substance. The substance does not depend upon the substance. So that's where the terminology comes from, substance. And now this terminology was used, especially in the Middle Ages and then later. Locke, Descartes, Spinoza, Leibniz, they all use the language of substance. Descartes decided that the world could be divided into two different types of substances: material substances, physical substances, and mental substances. The essence, each substance is an essence, that which without which they would not be substances. So physical substances, the essence of a physical substance is extension in space. That's what it means to be a substance, to be extended in space. The essence of a mental substance is consciousness, what Descartes calls thought. Okay? So this Cartesian dualism became a big problem because Descartes was never able to get the two, mind and matter, together. I mean, because they're totally independent. No one was able to figure out how to get the mind and the brain together. So that became a big problem, but Descartes was very clear as to what he meant by substance. He agreed with Aristotle that for something to exist, it needs to be a substance. He disagreed with Aristotle as to how to characterize substances. But he used Aristotle's terminology. Okay, and Descartes also didn't believe, and Locke also agreed with Descartes, that we never see substances. We see what they look like, what they appear to us. It's called the representative theory of perception. We don't see objects. We don't see an apple. We don't see a tree. We see a picture of a tree in our mind, and then we make an inference from what we see. We infer that there's something outside our mind. Locke believed in substances. And for Locke, a substance, a material substance, even a material or immaterial, he said it was something I know not what. Because take, for example, an apple. An apple for Locke is a collection of perceptions, what he called ideas, but these perceptions have to be attached to something. You can't just have red and sweet in a certain shape floating in nothingness. Something has to be red. Something has to have a certain shape. Something have to have a certain weight, and so on. So what is red, what does have a certain shape, and what is in motion, and so on, for Locke is the substance. But we never actually see the substance. We only see what the substance looks like, right? We see red, we see a shape, but what is red, what's underneath the different properties that hold them all together, we never see. So Locke's famous statement was, substance is something I know not what. Berkeley, as an empiricist in Locke's view, Berkeley agreed with Locke that all knowledge begins with experience. But then he would say to Locke, if that's the case, and all our knowledge is based upon experience, and he would say to Locke, you admit that we never actually perceive the substance. So substance is something I know not what. Then Berkeley said, let's get rid of, it doesn't even make sense to talk about a substance that we know not what. All knowledge is based upon experience. We have no experience of something we know not what. All we have is experience. So what Berkeley said is, his famous statement was, esse is percipi. To be is to be perceived. So Berkeley got rid of substance and just was left with pure perception. So this pen for Berkeley is, there's nothing here. It's just it's an idea that I perceive. Now, for Berkeley, the reason everyone would see this pen if they were in the room, is because God, this infinite spirit, is creating the idea or the perception of a pen in our minds. So Berkeley got rid of substance from an idealist standpoint. But normally when you study about substances, and David Hume got rid of substances because he said Hume's fork, for Hume, as an empiricist, we only know all knowledge is based upon experience. And since we have no experience of the substance, Locke would say we have no reason to believe there is a substance there. So unlike Locke, who said substance is something I know not what, Berkeley said we have no reason to believe substances exist. So Hume got rid of substances because we have no reason to believe they exist. And so, this debate was big in the 1600s, 1700s, and but normally when you read in philosophy, you get to, it kind of just ends at that point, and nobody ever talks about it again. But so one thing that's kind of interesting about is, well, what has happened to substance in the the modern world in the 20th century, 21st century? Basically the answer to that is that substance has disappeared, not because of Hume's reason or because of Locke's reason. It just, science doesn't talk about it anymore. The idea doesn't even make any sense. for Descartes, a substance is material substances are they are by definition they are extended in space. But there can be no substances in that sense of the word. In Descartes' sense of the word, there can be. Modern science doesn't have any use for substances. If you look in a modern science book, modern physics book, chemistry, whatever, physics, you're not look in the index. You're not going to see any references to substance. For Descartes, a substance is extended space. So this pen, for example, for Descartes, is extended in space. So you can measure it, right? It's extended in space, and it looks to our visual perception. I mean, to my eyes, it looks like it's extended. I mean, it looks solid, right? And so, from a Cartesian standpoint, it would make sense. You could say, yeah, okay, yeah, it makes sense. A pen is extended in space, but we know from modern science that this pen is made out of atoms. We all know that, right? It's billions of atoms. Okay, but atoms are mainly empty space. One analogy I read about an atom is like, think of the nucleus as home plate in a baseball stadium. The fence is 400 feet out. The electrons would be the fence 400 feet out away from the nucleus. That means that atom is mainly empty space. So this pen it looks solid to us, but from a modern physics standpoint, the solidity is simply an illusion. This is mainly empty space. It's like 99.999 empty space, even more than that. I mean, it looks solid to us, but if you could reduce yourself down to the size of an atom or electron, it would all be empty space. So Descartes' view that physical bodies are extended in space, he could say that because he knew nothing about atoms. He knew nothing about what modern physics says about physical bodies. So, when people study Descartes, no one really ever usually brings this up. They say, yeah, okay, physical bodies are extended in space, and everybody says, yeah, that's true, right? I mean, it looks like. But that's simply an illusion. No physical body is extended in space. There are really more than 99.99999. They're empty space. There's no extension in space. The expansion in space is pure. It's what we perceive because of our visual perception. Locke believed, and the whole debate about substance is what underlies, the shape. And so the idea was that this pen has a certain shape, so what is the shape? It has to be the shape of something, right? What underlies it? What underlies the color? Well, modern science says nothing underlies the color. It's just what's here is just our particles, subatomic particles, held together by nuclear forces. Gravity, whatever these forces are, weak nuclear force, strong nuclear force. There's like four main forces. There's no substance. Substance doesn't exist. All there are subatomic particles and the forces of nature. That's it. So that's what's happened to Aristotle's substance, Descartes' substance, Locke's substance. That's why you never hear the debate anymore, because substance is vanished. Modern science has no use for substance anymore because of the whole idea of extended in space has been shown to be an illusion. Okay? Anyway, that's all I want to say about substance.